Let's see, as in anybody has anything which is more important at this moment, we can surely talk about it. Otherwise, we'll tell Sandeep sir to wait for a while. Go ahead, Sandeep sir, I guess.
Fine.
I guess I've already talked to Abhinav. Yeah, go ahead.
So in this extension, we will have some default values, which has to be, for the sandbox, not for the production environment. And they have to come as default. They are prefixed by the government, you can say.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the best way of putting it in? Should I create one code unit with tagged as internal and then create functions to exit those values? Or should I create a table, again marking internal, and then put the values there on installation of the extension?
You can actually use a code unit of type install. And then if I'm not wrong, there is a check
Yes, we can do that.
that you can, yeah.
We can do that on installation of per company. We can do that. Firstly, I created a table and I stored the
Hmm.
values there. And on the page, I masked it. But then I'm still worried. Can somebody read those values somehow?
About your installation, sorry, about your table.
About the values, yes, in the table, if I store it.
If you store them as must, yes, they are still readable. That's why I'm suggesting to have a install code unit, and then don't allow, as a nobody can debug a install code unit to begin with, right? Because it runs during the installation process. So that's more safer than using a table to store those values.
But
Because
this
those values are
is
more or less static, right?
yes, static. So basically
Yeah,
user ID password for sandbox, common sandbox.
that's okay. That
So the
yeah, I would still prefer, if you want to store in a table, then you might have to read about the encryption that exists in Business Central by default. There is an encryption that you can encrypt
yes,
data, right?
we can do
Like
that.
SMTP passwords, till the point SMTP was there, to be fair, they were encrypted, even in nav, right? So there is an encryption algorithm exists in Business Central and nav that you can utilize to encrypt those values.
I didn't got it, but I've used encryption for storing employees' salary data, but I didn't thought about it. Thank you. Encryption will be better.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure that there is a event or a function available which can tell you are you on sandbox or production. So if you plan to go via install code unit route, then you just need to do a check that is it sandbox, and if sandbox, then set these values, otherwise just skip it. So that's also possible if you go that route.
We can that will be far more better. Yes,
Yeah,
nice,
either way,
nice
yeah,
suggestions.
either ways it'll
Thank,
work.
mm,
Encryption exists. You can play around with that.
thank you,
Okay,
thank you very much.
not a problem, sir. Any other questions before we begin today's meeting?
Not from me.
Okay, so welcome all. This is our 96 BC open discussion. There are some questions from emails from the Microsoft Word or Microsoft form that I have available, and some that I heard on social media somewhere in here. And then whatever time will be left, we'll talk about some of the cool, nice features added in Business Central 2022 preview. So let's start there. Okay, so this is normal that we talk about every week, more or less. And if you're watching the recording and you'd like to be part of these meetings, then click on this link, register for next week. This link normally gets updated by tomorrow, India time, and you'll be able to join the next meeting if needed. If you are in chat and not a default attendee, then you can drop your name and email in the chat, and I'll make sure that you get invited going forward. Okay, so let's talk about the questions that we have. And I guess this is Rishikesh, and Rishikesh is here. So let's talk about it, Rishikesh. Rishikesh wanted to understand, can we do something around development environment setup? Dockers or without Dockers, source control, managing branches on DevOps and GitHub. And Rishikesh, tell me which one you didn't find. We have talked about Dockers for sure. In the previous sessions, we have talked about what are the disadvantages of not using Docker, more or less. Source control, I guess, if I'm not wrong, we did one session about source control, and then we briefly talk about managing branches and all. So I guess we have covered all of them, maybe in different BC open discussions. You'll have to scramble
Okay,
through them.
uh,
But
Saurabh, yeah, I mean, you are saying that all these things are covered and recordings are available. Is it so?
yes, sir, all of them should be available. We have, I remember we have talked about most of these things.
Okay, maybe then I have missed. I will go through it, and if anything, I like to talk. I will again come to you.
Sure. How to set up a Dockers. There are other separate videos also on the YouTube channel. The only thing that I'll say, and I keep on repeating it every time, there is a huge advantage of using Docker. And to put it very simply, if you have, let's say, 10 customers and five of them are on Business Central SaaS, and five of them are on-prem, and the customers on-prem are varying from 16.5 to 20.0, it's impossible to install all these version on your machine. Even if you can, you cannot have a 18.0 and 18.5 on the same box. And that's a overhead to set up and configure all these versions on your machine. And that's where Docker comes handy. It's not an utility that is used to be that you need to use to kind of test with your customers. It is just for development. You should utilize it to connect to your environment, download the symbols that you need, and it's a disposable environment. So once you don't need it, you can just drop it. So there are all your DevOps or CI/CD specifically runs using Docker. So there's a huge advantage of using Docker. Initially, you might see some problem, but the first time when I started with Docker is somewhere around 6 years ago, and now I don't see all those problems coming up which I saw 6 years ago. So it's a win-win, at least for the partners, where they have customers on different version. So spend some time on Dockers if you haven't, and surely make your life easy in the long run. Other than that,
Uh,
yeah, go ahead.
no, no, I said yes, I'll do.
Sandeep sir, you have any questions? Your hand seems to be raised, and we can't hear you if you're talking.
Yeah, sorry, I was speaking on mute.
Yeah.
Uh, so, any idea how to deploy Docker on Azure?
Oh yeah. So when you go to the wizard, as in there is a inbuilt template when you go into your what do you call that? What is that? Portal.azure.com, and
Hmm.
you try to create a VM. There is actually a template from Microsoft which allows you to directly create a Docker there. So let me see if I find that, because I know that existed back then. Because when you start building a environment for you, you have these templates available,
Yes.
right? And let me see if I find that somewhere. Hmm. Let me see. This is not my account. Okay, doing something. See if I can exit it. Okay. So when you're here, and if you try to create a, what do we do, virtual machine? I guess so.
Hmm.
Okay. Why it says so? Let me see. I should have some virtual machines available.
Maybe the directory.
I'm on the right directory. It seems yes, I'm on the right directory. Okay, home. Let me see my dashboard if I can. Okay, that doesn't sound correct. Yeah, but I know, and I'll send you that detail. But
Fine.
there is a way to utilize an existing template from Microsoft to create all a a Docker environment in SaaS. You don't have to worry about it. That's all covered.
Fine. I will find it.
Yeah. So when you go into into your selection, right, that
Mm,
this is the template I need to pick up. There is a template which talks about Docker with Business Central, sorry, on Azure, and you can just utilize that straightforward.
fine. And if I'm not hijacking the meeting, did you have a chance looking at what's new
I did, and we'll talk about some of those
today?
things. Yeah, some of those
They
things today.
release some of the things they released today,
Hmm, I
and they're
didn't see
interesting.
that.
And they're
Okay,
interesting.
let's
Uh,
look at them.
fine.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, Rishikesh, go through the previous recordings of sessions, and if you don't find something, let us know. We'll surely be happy to talk about those again.
Sure, sir. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Hmm. There's one question which is interesting and relevant to most of the people here. It says the person is working on an upgrade from Navision 2016, which is the last possible version available for India localization, to Business Central 20. And the problem that he's facing, that sales price table and purchase price table, the customer have added location code as a primary key, combination of both purchase and sales price table. In BC, these tables are obsolete already, so how we can move this data to BC20? Now, the way I read it is there are two major problems conceptually. One, if they have added location code as part of the primary key of sales price and purchase price, then even those tables are obsolete, you can't merge those changes in any case. Very simple. You can't change the primary key of a base Microsoft table. So even if these tables were not marked as obsolete, you cannot brought those customs forward. You'll have to work with a customer to see how they would like to redesign that data or code, because you cannot change primary key of any Microsoft table. Then the second thing, and others can correct me if I'm wrong, but whenever I have tried enabling this new sales pricing engine, and I'm just talking about till Business Central 19, I didn't try it on BC20. It did work on the sandbox, but if I'm not wrong, I read in the code that if it is production, then this piece is not running. It is a still work in progress. It was a still in work in progress in BC19. I haven't checked on BC20 to be fair. I'm expecting in BC21, the old sales price and purchase price table does not exist. If they exist, still that chance to bring that data forward in those tables, but you will not be able to have the location code in the part of primary key of any base Microsoft table. Now, one crazy thought, and that might be completely out of the way, but you can bring all that data as it is on a 50,000 table by saving it as a 50,000 and bring that into 50,000 tables in your 2016. And then pricing is implemented, the new pricing engine is implemented as an interface. So you still have possibility to define your way of interface, which is super tricky, to be very fair.
May I interrupt?
Yes, sir.
I'm just copy and pasting one link. Can you open that
Okay,
link?
sure.
And it should solve the problem,
Okay, that'll be great.
hopefully.
Oh yeah, I did read it 2 years, a
And
year
there's
ago. So
a down there, location has been given. How to extend it for locations.
add location as applies to type.
This should solve the problem.
Hmm. But this will not make it part of the primary key, right?
But they will have to do the data transformation,
Right.
take
That's
it to
what
the
I
temp
think. Yeah.
table and then put it. But as far as the functionality is concerned, they can have that functionality complete.
Yeah. The only catch is that if they have added the location as a part of the primary key, then they, as soon as they remove the primary key, and I'm just hoping based on my assumption of primary key, that there might be overlapping records as soon as the location comes out of primary key.
Yes, but
Nobody,
then they can
yeah,
export the data into some temp table,
yeah,
and
right.
then after this customization has been added to the BC20, they can then upload it. And also this data does not impact anything, so they can download and keep it, um, keep the table blank, take it forward, and then import the data again.
Yeah, the only worry that I have is if there are duplicate record as soon as they remove location as the field from primary key. Because the whole idea of adding a field into primary key is they wanted everything else same, but location as different.
But once this customization is in place, this location as a apply type, then they can transform the data and it will not create duplicate.
As this print price source type. I'll have to see this, yeah, because
Mm.
I'm thinking from the perspective of the primary key, and maybe that's where maybe I'm going a little bit wrong, and I'll have to read about this. But yeah, yeah, okay, there is a sales price source setup where they can add a field. Let me see what this table does. Sales price source setup. Because that's important. What this table is for. Okay, not this one. S2L go. Let me find an existing project where symbols and all are downloaded. Okay. Base app. And come on. Okay. Let's look for this. It's by source type. Is that not a table? No, it's an enum. And it have, oh, so this kind of on the header. What is the source type of the table? Hmm. And then you can surely extend the enum as per the article, which makes sense. But then
Then you can
price
transform the
source.
data location wise. You create multiple price lists, and then for each price
Okay,
list,
yeah, yeah.
each location the price list will work.
Okay. I don't know that much, but I guess, yeah, that's what it should be. That's possible. It's an example of price per list on location east, and then you can have different locations around it. Yeah, maybe this will help that. Thank you, Sandeep sir. You should surely try to what we discussed a while ago and see does that solve your problem or not, because we'll need more details after this point. Okay, now let's come to the last question, which is can I set the approval limit along with the sequence? Which literally means that somebody is using workflow. And the question is that I have 4 users in my team and the requester has a limit to release the PO within 1000. Let's assume 1000 rupees. If it is more than 1000, then I have 2 users who have limit up to 5000. And if approves, the PO gets released. How to configure that in BC? Okay.
This should be easy.
No, I guess it's about a combination of workflow user group and
Yes.
approval user group. Oh, sorry,
No.
approval user setup.
Why? Matlab, I can simply create two workflows for purchase. Say, for example, where I can put amount less than 1000
Mhm.
and more than 1000, and I create two different workflow user groups and assign them.
You create two workflow user group and assign it to them. But then what
Should I show you a
user,
sample?
which,
Well,
yeah, let's
it's
open my
not.
business center.
Yeah.
Let me see where it is. Okay, here it is. Let's go back to our business center 21, 20. Because the question is which approval user group you will choose. Is it the approval setup one, or will you choose a workflow user group?
Workflow user group.
But then there is no amount catch over there, right?
And there is no in the main
Is it?
workflow template.
Okay, let's say in workflow from template. Let's talk about
Purchase order.
anything. Yeah, let's say purchase order approval workflow. And here we are.
In
And we
the
say
on condition.
for the first one,
First one, yes.
hmm,
Put the filter for amount less than equal to 1,000.
okay.
Click
In that
OK
case,
and
this approval
add record
is
restriction. Next field,
uh,
next column. First row, next column, add record restriction. The third, create an approval request. Click on that. And then from down there, in the approver type,
approval type is,
workflow user group.
but okay. In this case, this is the same user, right? Who's creating the request. Less than
Yeah,
1,000 is
Saurabh, that is okay because you can enable more than one workflow. So the sender will be one, but at a time the two workflow will be triggered. No?
And
Oh.
whichever is suits, wherever the condition, first condition is met, and that will be applied.
Okay, so let's say sender. And then we do a edit and we say which username. Because this is more or less hard coded, right? I don't
Yeah,
know who is creating this.
so the basic idea is lot of time
I understand.
organizations
I
have got
guess
multiple people, up to 5,000, there will be, two people, up to 10,000, three people, then more than 10,000, four people will be approving. So we create
I
three
agree.
different workflow user groups and based upon the condition, we assign them.
I guess I understand Sandeep sir and Vijay, your point about this part. Okay, if there are two users which are limit of 5,000, if one of them approved, then it get released, which makes sense. What happens if the user who is creating it, the
Mhm.
requester, has a
Yes.
limit to release PO within 1,000? Then it
Mm.
goes not on workflow user group, right? Then it goes to the approval user setup thing.
No. Say for example, I am authorized to release up to 1,000 and my name has been
Right.
given in the workflow user group. And I am the one who is sending it for approval. It will get auto approved because it is within my limit. The moment it is
Yeah.
more than my limit, then it will look for that condition and find the different workflow user group where there are two users. It will auto approve for me because I'm the first approver. And for the second one, it will create.
But then I'll have to define each user in my system here with
Yes.
a so that it gets 1,000. What if, and just a crazy thought, nothing crazy about it, but just a simple thought. Instead of this, if I say that this is approver, okay, and then I say uh, first qualified approver, which means that whosoever qualifies to that amount. And here, normally, this is user setup at the end of the day, right? This is not something else. And I say, okay, this person have a limit on purchase 1,000.
Hmm.
Every user will be here because this user setup.
Yes.
Everybody will have a limit of 1,000. So if
Mhm.
it matches to the conditions, Sandeep said, that you have set up here, then you just check that, oh, this user have a limit of 1,000, it automatically gets approved. When it comes to the second condition, when it is greater than 1,000, or yeah, when it is
The only
great,
difference is
yeah,
in the method which I'm saying, it will send to each of them because in the sequence we will write 1, 2, 3, 4, send it to 4 users. in the method which you are saying, if you have to directly send it to the fourth or
What
the
I'm
third.
saying is, the person who is creating it, let's say you created it, right?
Yes.
If you created it, then you have a right to automatically approve anything which is less than 1,000 rupees.
Yes.
I don't have to send it to 5 people because you, as a purchase order creator, have rights to approve within 1,000 rupees. If the order value is less than 1,000, then it automatically gets approved, more or less. You see that line always, right?
Yes.
Whenever you follow workflow, there's a first line created, requested, approved by the requester automatically. I guess I'm talking about that line,
Yes. In
right?
in the example which you gave and in the example which I was giving and Vijay was also saying the same thing, both will work.
Right. But yeah, I'll
The
have to add everything, right?
so the combination which differs is in the approval user setup, if you use that, it directly sends to the first qualified approval. That means if there are multiple ranges here,
Right.
one up to 1,000, 1,000 to 5,000, 5,000 and more. So it will direct if it the PO is of 7,000, it will directly send to the topmost. It will not send it to the first, second, and the third. If you want that, then the way which we are talking will work.
What if direct approver does? Oh, that reaches to the final point of it.
Yeah, and you define
But
the
then,
approver here.
I have also said that the limit is less than 1,000. So the direct approver, in case of amount less than 1,000, the direct approver would be the person who created it.
No,
I'm just thinking loud.
direct approval will still work on the person who is sending his manager, I believe.
But the amount is
The
less than 1,000.
the direct
Good.
approver is the person that's assigned as the approver in the approval user setup.
Okay, the final approver, the unlimited, more or less.
The direct
No,
approver,
not
if you
final.
look
The
at
first
the if you
approver.
look at the if you look at the user approval setup, see
Mhm.
that approver ID field right there? The
Yeah.
third one from that's the direct approver, whoever's filled in there. Each
Okay.
person can only have one direct approver.
Right.
And that cannot be the same person. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want it to go to multiple people, you need to use a workflow user group.
And approver
I
chain.
guess, yeah, because I guess I'm very clear about what everybody is saying about from starting from this line, that I have two users who have limit up to 5,000, right?
Right.
I'm only questioning about the person who is creating it have a limit of $1,000 or rupees.
Right. So
Because
you just
yeah,
in the workflow rule in your filter there,
yeah,
just have it from one. You're going to have one rule that's going to be between 1,000 and 5,000, right?
right.
And if it's less than 1,000, it's not going to go through the workflow. It's just going to automatically release. You know, the workflow rule is saying only if it's between 1,000 and 5,000
Oh,
is this rule come into play. You know what I'm saying?
right. I got you. So the rule
So
will be
if
something
it's
like this.
yeah, and the question would be, what happens if it's over 5,000, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The question doesn't really. It says there's 4 people, but you know, it doesn't say what happens if it's over 5,000, right? So then you would need another rule, right? If you wanted to deal with over 5,000, because if it's
Yes.
below 1,000 or over 5,000, that rule is going to ignore it,
Yeah, and then it automatically gets released.
right? So sometimes you have to have 2 or 3 rules depending on how many layers of approval. And how tricky you want to get. You know, you can do a couple layers with the approval user setup, but it's not very flexible.
Yeah, man. Have anybody tried the Power automated flow on this? Because there are some templates on the Power platform for this, right? For Business Central approvals. We never played with that. Just to give you an idea, ever on these sessions. But there are some templates available to enable workflows from Power Automate in Business Central.
Never tried it since I've never faced any problem managing it in BC.
Yeah, because we like to code. I have also coded something. I've heard that they are more flexible than Business Central approvals.
So one of the
And
idea is if you have got a non-BC user and he needs to approve, then it can make some sense. Otherwise, emails can be sent from BC, and if you are if you want to code something, you can even give approve and reject button in the mail itself.
right, yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, maybe we'll give it a try. But I guess this person, based on the limited question, and as Jan said, we don't know what happens after it. The PO is more than 5,000. I guess this person will get his answer or her answer. Yeah, how you do it based on what you guys and we discuss in this meeting. That you set it up for 1,000 to 50,000 and as a workflow user group, and then have the sequence as same. One of them approves, you're good there. Okay, any other questions before we get into some of what's new in Business Central, as in what I was reading here and there? Yes.
One other just comment on this is if you want to have like multiple people in that approval group, and the first one that clicks approve lets it go through, you need to remove some other pieces and make it another adjustment in that workflow rule.
Yeah, which is the I forgot the thing,
So,
but pending
if you
approval.
see, pending approval is greater than 0 needs to be deleted. That
Right.
whole row, right?
Yeah.
And then you need to clear the 0 out of there as well.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it
will send it to other people.
correct. It'll expect some kind of everybody to either approve it or some sequence.
Which to me seems a hack, to be very fair. When I look at the workflow entries with that hack applied, it still says that there are some entries which are not processed and document is released. So when you look at the approval entries after you apply this hack, it surely approved the document, but there are still some entries which are open.
And then I create a function to close them. Subscriber
Yes.
function.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. It's a hack created by the community. I don't think Microsoft have ever written about, and I've read about these hacks, and I've surely applied it for some of the scenarios where needed. But these hacks, what they do is they keep some entries open, and it's as Sandeep is saying, then you have to manually handle it. And I don't know, I haven't read the latest upgrade code unit from Microsoft for Business Central, but back in the NAV days, the upgrade code unit has a pre-check which used to check are there any workflow entries which are open or approval entries which are open, and that's where it fails. So yeah, this is a nice hack. I've heard it, I've read about it, I have done it, to be very frank, but then it leaves some entries open, to be fair. But let's see. Okay, so let's dive into our Business Central 21 preview. If there is nothing more that you would like to talk about, and let's see what's there. So the first thing that I was super excited about was switching companies across environment. This is something where every customer that I talked to had problems because they have multiple environment. And, there was this system integrated from Microsoft on company information, which was limited to 4 words, and it was very hard to understand where you are. And when you copy environment, even if you rename the environment to sandbox, you manually have to go and update the system indicator on your company information page for each company that you have in database. And then we have customers who have 13 companies, 15 companies. So it's next to impossible to update all the companies because sandbox creation is happens so frequently. And it was a nightmare with this. But this looks super cool with Business Central 21, that you just log into an environment like this and you see on the top this ribbon which shouts at you that which environment you are in. And the name that you see there is the name of the environment that you have named here on your environments tab. So it tells you that you are on Business Central 21 review. But if you click on it, you see all possible companies/environments that you can switch to. Now, I don't have multiple tenants, and I don't expect Microsoft to have something with multiple tenant built in, but maybe that's possible using the hybrid company extension. But as of today, if you look at it, it shows all the environment that are available in my admin center and all the companies there. Now, if the environment is on the same version more or less, then I can just either switch to that company within without changing the browser tab, or I can even add it into a new tab. I can say, oh, I need to go to BC20 demo on this company, and I can say, okay, just open it on new tab and just populate that URL separately, that tab separately with that environment that I chose and the company that I chose for all that. Now, as a developer, it seems pretty easy, but when you talk to customer, it seems super nice to have it, and I don't have to go to company information and change that setting every time when I create a copy of my production as sandbox, then come here and in the company batch say that this is my test or test two. Okay, you see. So if I'm not wrong, till Business Central 20, the limit of this field was 4 character. Now it's extended to 6 character. I don't know why, but let's just get updated. Once you set this up, and still will remain as it is. This one is not going away. And you refresh your environment, you'll see a ribbon on top of it, which sounds cool to have, but it's a nightmare to update it every time. And they merge it in here, which is cool.
This is good.
In the earlier version, it used to pop up somewhere here, right, Sandeep sir? If I'm not wrong.
Yes.
There's a
yes.
small pop-up which used to
Yes.
say thing in that. But now it moved here, which looks cool that it's there. And the kind of the logo follows everywhere. That it's a test or a prod and follow the color sequence. So yeah, this is something which has been highly talked about at this moment. Seems pretty easy for as a partner or as a developer that, oh, okay, they just moved it here. But think about a customer who have 13 companies and you have to work on multiple companies for them to go into my settings, then clicking on this button, choosing the right company, clicking OK, and then clicking OK and it'll refresh the environment. It's a nightmare. So that sounds good that this is a small but a great thing to be for customers who are on SaaS. I'll still see how it operates. I don't have multi-tenant, but once some of my customer who have multiple tenants, when they get upgrade, I'll surely check does it show other tenants or not. So that's one thing. The other thing is on the action bar. Now we all know our action bar on Business Central, which has been a lot talked about in the past. That why Microsoft keeps action moving here and there, and every time I show it to a demo to a customer, I'll have to go and search for that menu every time, and Microsoft moves things here and there. There are two special announcements in this release. The actions have moved for sure here and there again, but the navigate button, which was very common in each and every page, is retired, and you'll not see in any of the Business Central page going forward the tab which was earlier called as navigate tab. So the navigate tab has completely retired. You'll not see it going forward. And the other cool thing is that when you go into the personalization mode, and this has been requested for a pretty long time, that you can also now move actions which was not allowed in the previous versions of Business Central. It used to allow you to add fields and all those things into the page. I don't think it allows you to add new actions, but you can surely move actions from one of the tab that you don't like it to a different tab where you would like it. I can just drag it and place it inside process, and it moves here, which was not available in the previous versions, to be very frank. And this gives you flexibility as a user to place all your related menus into the right places if needed. The other thing on this is if you have worked on NAV, you will see that this action of submenus is now again re added into Business Central. This is kind of lost for a while, but this menu of submenus is part of it. And they have also tried to group things where it makes sense. So like new documents are now all grouped based on whatever is available for them. But then you can also scan them into some other menus in the others menu, which was not visible earlier, like this. The most frequent ones are here, and then others is a kind of a sub menu everywhere where you'll see other options available. So if you are on to menus and you're trying to customize and you have extensions around it, maybe just wait for a while. I think Microsoft started focusing on it. It'll take some time to kind of mature about the action bar that's being worked on.
Yeah, so is that actually a code snippet for the submenus?
I don't think, but let's have a look. That's a good question, Sam. This is customer list. So let's open. Luckily, we have from Microsoft have access to the base app, and I'm hoping this is Business Central 21. Let's search for customer card or customer list. Okay, let me see if I can directly go there. Go to destination if I can, otherwise I'll find it in the meantime. Take some time, And I don't. Okay, here we are. Let's collapse the. Let's have this. Okay, here I'm on actions, and then I'm on dimensions. So when you group these items inside a group, then you automatically get that a subset of it. Sam, does that make sense?
Yeah, I think, yeah, it does.
Yeah. So if you add some menus inside a group within the action area, right? It's a group inside a group.
But where do you define the area? This is just navigation. This would apply to customer dimensions. All right, okay.
Yeah. And then if you place menu inside a group, they will automatically, as people have worked on old versions of NAV, will start showing you the same way as it used to in the old NAV versions. Sub menu,
Okay.
more or less. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
There's some cool stuff on reporting, which I'm super excited about. One, I'm a little bit confused. I know the run was there, the send was there, but was schedule available on each and every possible resource report is what my question is. So what I'm talking about is if you have a long report and user says that it takes a while. So as per the Microsoft statement, if the statement reports take a while, then define your filter here, and then not this one for sure. This is a weird report, but okay. Let's assume that the report takes time. So instead of taking time into it, you can either print or preview it, which is the default options. But now you can also schedule it, which puts it into your report inbox. And if I'm not wrong, this was there, at least in
Yeah,
NAV.
in NAV also and in Business Central as well. It was there.
So why this feature talks about it? As in that's what that feature talks about it. That you can send report to report inbox, and when you do schedule a report, it actually goes into the report inbox, right?
Yes, that's how it is.
Yeah, so let me open that article.
Oh, hang on a second. It's not available. I'm running actually 20.5, actually 20.4. If you go to the service quote, it's not available.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
you do
maybe it
have,
was not enabled by design. Yeah, go ahead.
well, you do have the standard options, PDF document, XML, Word, Excel, but it doesn't have the ability to schedule it.
That's weird. I thought it was already always there, but let's quickly go
Time where it is
into
not there.
Yeah, service quote
20.5 he's saying.
28.4.
No,
Let's have a look.
This
20.4, yeah.
yeah. Now, which version is this?
This is 20.4.
Okay.
And maybe I'm not on the extend what we call that. I always forgot to set this. What is that?
License?
Experience.
Oh,
I'm premium. No, I'm not. Okay, I'm essentials. So let's set that. And let me log in again.
if you're not premium, you can't have access to services and module,
Yeah,
obviously.
and because yeah, I don't deal with the service daily, so that's the reason I guess I forgot it. But do I have to log this out completely? Service quotes. I think I see them now. Let's just create a fake one. We just want to see the report. Okay. 1. And let's
Oh,
choose
we
a
don't
couple.
have another series as well.
Yeah, because I never use it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm here and let's try to print this.
I don't think you can print it. You don't have any. Oh, sent
Oh,
it.
yeah, so it's a PDF, XML, Word, Excel document.
See?
Well, let's go back to customers because maybe I'm thinking a little bit uh, nav perspective, and that's why I use the word NAV all the time. And then I don't know when Microsoft removed it, but it was always there. Reports. Okay.
Can you search for the report aging age account receivable? The schedule will be there.
18 what?
Age account receivable.
Okay.
You can
Is
schedule it.
account receivable? Yes, you can. So was it earlier set available for some of the reports and now it's available for all the reports that exist? Is that the change?
No idea.
Let's see
Well,
what
it's
happens. And it's
yeah,
there.
go on to the latest version of Business Central and see if it's available on the service quote.
That's a good thought. It will be if it was there. I'll have to enable. But yeah, if it
Yeah,
was there back then, it's available now.
it should
But
be.
okay, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll have to do a research when what was changed. And this is not a code change. I'm pretty sure it's a platform change to understand when they enable it on all the reports. But just in summary, this is what the article says that it's available on all the reports, it seems, that you can directly send it to report inbox. And then what will happen once that report runs on the server, it will be available on your role center page in this fact box called, what is that? Report inbox. So you don't have to wait for it. That is one basic change which I was not sure was it just added on this release or available. The second one is a very important one, and I have tested it, and I, for some reason, for whatever reason, it got deleted, the extension that I built. But this is super cool. So if you remember in Business Central 20, what Microsoft did, they added a new page which I use so frequently that now called report layout. And we have talked about it in this meeting. This report layout have information of all layout that comes from various extension that you have in your system for each base, ISV, or custom report that's added. This page gives you information about the report, the layout, and the extension and what type of layout it is. As you start working on report extensions and you start adding more layouts to one of the report because of the scenarios that your customer have, all that will become available in this page. Now, what they did in Business Central 21, which is this one, is the page remains same, but whenever you try to run a report, this is the wrong report again because this runs from a code unit. You can actually choose the layout that you would like. So if there is a base Microsoft report for which an ISV build a layout, and then on top of ISV layout, you build a separate layout based on the customization that that customer needed. User at the time of printing the layout report will be able to pick which layout he or she would like to print out. Now, granted that every report will have one default layout, either set on the code or on the report layout page. But this gives user flexibility, especially on the scenarios where you have Excel layouts. Because if you make a Excel layout as a default layout, then all these buttons down here gets removed in Business Central 20 and they change into download action. But now with this report layout selection, it's easier to have a situation where there are 5 users who would like to have a different Excel view of the data that is coming from this report, and they all create their own layout. And as a user, they now can select which layout they would like to select when they run the report. Any thoughts? We can try it out if required. I know what the problems are, but go ahead if there is anything. Now, the problem that I see when I tested it last week, and maybe this is work in progress. As of today, and I'm saying with respect of the preview, if you have 3 layouts here for this report, even if you change the layout on this tab, it is not able to process and pick that layout. It still tries to pick whatever is the default one. And I've tested it with 3 additional layout created using report extension, just minor changes and all. But the system as of today is still picking the default layout based on what is set on the report layout page or the report layout per company page, whatever that page is, custom report layout page. This is again an assumption based on it's a preview, and I'm pretty sure Microsoft knows about it and they are working on it. Once it converts to an actual product from a preview, these small minor problems will fix. If you haven't tried it, just give it a try. But as of today, it fails to do what it is expected to do, which means that it is able to pick the right layout that it need to be. Any other scenario that I missed talking about? I know Excel is a great scenario because I know customers do like Excel, but then there are different people who would like to have a different view of the same data. With this option being added, it allows them to do that. Okay. Moving to the next one, which is using new dedicated API for financial reporting. Vijay, you have some questions? Seems your hand.
Yeah, no question, but I would like to highlight one thing here.
Yes, sir.
Through the code, when you do the report.run model, so yes, it does pick the custom layout which you have defined on for that report.
Right.
But you may also have document layout which is used for customer specific, right?
Right.
So with the report.run model, it does pick the custom layout, but it doesn't pick the document layout. This
It
problem I
doesn't
have
pick,
faced.
right. And you're talking about 21 or 20?
20.
20. It doesn't pick the custom layout.
It pick the custom layout, but it doesn't pick the, if you're running that report for a specific customer and that customer have document layout, right? So in the document layout, you also have a different custom layout.
Right.
So in that case,
And
it only picks the report custom layout, but it doesn't pick that document custom layout.
That's weird. It should. I think that's the reason why it was created. But yeah, that's a good scenario to test out. And people who don't know it, on your customers and vendor, there's a section which talks about, and I'll have to find it again.
It's right there, document layouts. No, underneath customer.
The
Go
customer,
back.
yeah. So if, as Vijay was saying, if you have custom layouts available for report, let's say for invoice, you can have a custom report layout.
Yeah.
So when any document that's printed for this customer number 1000, the system should respect to pick the custom layout description which is defined here, and also the email if you are emailing it. That all is possible. That used to work till previous versions, as Vijay is saying. I haven't tried it, but that makes it life easier for people who want to have a different report layout per customer when they are emailing them invoices. Maybe minor changes, maybe major changes. But instead of modifying the base Microsoft report, you might have a custom layout built in just for this customer or multiple customers. And it seems, as per what Vijay is saying, that this seems to be fail in even in Business Central 20. I'll have to test this out because yeah, there are so many complex scenarios that Microsoft have added around the reports, and it seems possible that they might have missed some scenarios when they were trying to build new scenarios around it. So I'll have to test it out with kind of fun from
Okay.
that. Okay. Now, yeah, we were talking about the dedicated APIs for financial reporting. So if you are not a huge fan of Power BI, or if you don't operate on that domain at the time, because Microsoft started focusing on Power BI using a separate section of APIs for financial reporting. So let's go into the source code of Cell 21 and let's try finding out some apps. And let me zoom this in so that you guys can see it. And how you do that. Okay, not extra large is sufficient, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Not this one. Okay. Let me go back here. Platform application. So okay. For all these years, we have seen API V1 and V2, which had everything that you needed. It seems, and let me extract this in this release, and I know there were some parts that were released in the previous version, but they were not talked about. In the SRC, what you'll see that there's supposed to be some of the extensions around it.
What are you looking for?
Oh, here it is. API report finance. So there is again one more API set that's available in your Business Central with version 21 just for reporting purposes. Now, the scenarios that I have read on web, it talks about that you can utilize all these info without doing any coding or any crazy setups and all in Power BI. If you look at it, these are the pages which and queries which are exposed for financial reporting. If if you have to read accounting periods, you can just utilize this API and it'll give you that. Now remember, at this moment they are targeted as beta version and there will be changes as they go forward. But you cannot modify these API, and that's the beauty of it. It's just for read-only purposes. So you can read that data out for different data set which are created for financial reporting, which is accounting period, business units, customers, dimension values, dimension set entries even, GL accounts, budget entry query. The intent is read only. That means if you are utilizing it, they are utilized to read some data from Business Central and not modify or add new data into Business Central. So keep that in mind when you start using this API set, which is available from Microsoft in this release. And the intent is read only. So you can just use it for reading reports. You can read the data into Excel using the get data and then exposing or consuming the static URL for the Microsoft APIs, and that'll give you data into Excel, or you can use them on Power BI if needed. So yeah, if a customer says I want to spend some time on financial reporting with Central, do look at this extension about reporting called API reports, and that will give you something that a customer needs. The last before we leave for today is there is a Outlook OneDrive integration, which is defined in the next release. And then good news for partners who help their customers or implementation and all. It was one of the most asked feature, more or less, that when we do implementation, we would like to edit some data in Excel and push it back to Business Central, and that was not allowed for delegated admins till now. But with Business Central 21, delegated admins, which majorly partners and ISVs, will have permission to do editing in Excel and then load data back into Business Central. But let's quickly see the OneDrive integration. So earlier in the previous versions, if you remember, that was per user, that every user will have to go and set it up. Now with this release, what Microsoft done is on your assisted setup as an administrator, you can come here and connect your files to the cloud, which gives you a wizard to set up OneDrive with your Business Central. And as you go through it, there are two options that you can enable. One is for file handling, and one is also to open in Excel or open in Word in the web version rather than on your PC. Now, why that is important? There are users who use Business Central from a Mac OS. They have purchased Business Central and Office 365 cloud only versions. But as soon as they do a open in Excel, it tries to download that file and then try to look for an application that can open it in Excel, which is not available in the Mac systems. So with the second feature, which is use the system features, it as soon as somebody says open in Excel, in the background, what will happen is your file will get uploaded into OneDrive, and from OneDrive, it will open it into the browser as open in Excel and open in Word and other services, rather than relying on your system operating system. The other benefit of this thing that they have added as a setup, that not every user will have to set it up when they try to utilize the power of OneDrive with Business Central. And this is the only thing that's available on this setup. Once you hit next, that's all, and you are good there. And then if you need some help, it gives you some steps of how you need to configure your Dynamics 365 for it. But that's it. Once you're done with it, it's there. At the same time, Microsoft have also announced that they have announced a deprecation policy on the legacy SharePoint integration. I never used it, but there used to be a SharePoint setup page, which is this page, and Microsoft is planning to remove it. I don't know who utilized this, but I never. But this is going away. as the one write connection is available. So just keep an eye if any of your customers is utilizing this info, they have only 1 year before they switch to the new model or to a custom solution before this gets removed. Any thoughts, questions before we call for the day?
I do, yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's just go back to Business Central. If you go to Service Quote and you open a card, or actually document Service Quote, you can see on the right panel that there's no attachment feature available, right? And this requirement of mine is to add the ability to attach documents to a service quote. Now, go to attachments.
Okay.
Say it's not available. Now, making it visible isn't particularly hard. You just go with a page extension, add a part, and that's it. That's on the service quote page. Okay.
Whose picture it is?
Can you
Not
click on
picture.
details? Can you click on details?
No, it's not available. Details. Go back to
Details.
details.
Scroll
Okay,
down.
it's not. No,
No, that's
nothing.
it. But
That's
whose
it.
picture it is?
Not a picture. Attachment.
Attachments.
Yeah, document attachment. You could make the
Oh,
links available.
right,
Now,
right.
you just go to the service quote page. You add an extension, add first, fact boxes, so on and so forth. The
Right.
problem is the service quotes. If you go to the page inspector, has a double primary key, which is, if I'm not wrong, the what is that? Yeah, the document type
A
and the
number.
number.
Right.
Yeah, that's a problem. Document attachment just doesn't work.
Just give me a minute. Why? Because it does work on the sales header or sales order. Why it will not work on service header?
It is the two, the document type and the number.
That's okay. That's what it is on the sales header or sales orders or sales invoices.
Sales,
You know, if you go to the sales order or sales invoice, the primary key is a multi-part primary key, and that doesn't matter about the fact box, because if you look at it, the document
And
type,
Microsoft has handled it in the code.
yeah,
They have handled it in the code.
these are the two part of primary key, and you can still do the document attachment here. You'll attach as it is supposed to be. So you want an attachment fact box in your service code. Will that be a fair question?
yeah.
Okay, let's talk about it in the next week. I don't think it'll be very hard. It should be super simple to add an.
I do have the code right here. I made it visible. It's just when I try to attach the document, it's not being attached to this specific document here. It's easy to make it visible. It's just a part, document attachment. You just add the subpage link and the keys, the table ID, the number, and so on and so forth. Visible to true, and that's it. It's available. If you try to upload a file, it just doesn't work. Now I want with some integrations. Do you think I can share my screen quickly?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sam, you might have to look at how Microsoft had managed it. So what normally I have to do is I create a separate function if they have not included this service order or service code in that function.
But I
Then
doubt,
it will.
Sandeep sir, because it should be possible. That's what I'm thinking.
There is a specific function which takes a table ID, and for each table they have written specific code that how the data will be
Oh,
inserted in that
okay,
attachment
okay,
table.
got it, got it, got it.
Can you see my
Okay.
screen?
Yeah, we can.
So making it visible isn't really that hard. It's just a part you add it, and that's it. Okay. The problem is if I try to upload a file here, or anything actually. See, it says that the document is already attached. For some reason,
Just-
it is attached. Yeah.
Just one more thing. Just one more thing. Can you go into the page filters on the right hand side in your
Oh,
page
hang on.
inspection?
Which page?
No, not here. On the right hand side, the page inspection tab, there is 3 tabs: table, field, extension, page filter. Can you go into the page filter? Not here. Click on the attachment fact box, as in click on that
right.
document 0. Yeah. It shows you that it is on this, but oh, the number is wrong, man. The ID is correct. The document type is correct. The number is saying quote, which is wrong. The second filter.
Which means if I need,
You said table ID. You didn't say document type.
do I need to add it as well here?
Yes, I guess. Let me see.
Should I show you my screen just for a second?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So this is version 18, so things might have changed. You can look it in your thing.
Hang on a
There's
second. The
table.
screen.
It's visible now.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a table called document attachment,
Yeah.
and it has got this function, and it very specifically defines the tables. And
Okay.
even for save attachment, it does say it goes somewhere, and then it basically what you can say table wise they have defined it. Like for the see this here.
Yeah. That's what I
So
think. Yeah.
this is the basic problem. So what I had to do in one of the projects that I was working with, I have to create these two functions before save attachment, and then I have to like for I was doing for bank account and for custom table one of the. So I have to write this code to do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. But Sam, would you like to share your screen? I guess I would see a different error if your filters were correct. But would
Hang
you
on a
like to share
second.
your...
Hang on a sec. Oh, I will share my screen. Right. It's on the way. Give it some time. And can we see the screen?
Yes. So what I'm saying is on the where is your page? Where is your page extension?
There it
Yeah.
is.
So you have the table ID set as constant. This you have the number set as constant, as in matching to this. Then add the document type.
Oh, it's not available.
It is. You just need to remove this and the end.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
Call
Okay.
it, yeah.
Hold on.
Change it to comma. Yeah. Document type is equal to field document type. Field document type, not constant.
Oh, right. Obviously. Oh, this isn't enum, I guess. So. Nope.
No, just the field document type, and save it. Okay. Now, because I would like to see what the error is now, because as Sandeep sir was saying, now there should be a different error that this table is not defined, and then you go that route, because your problem actually started from here, where the filters were not set correctly. So it's surely going somewhere else and uploading those documents against some other record, which makes no sense.
I was thinking on the integration for these two events on after open full rack ref and the second one here, I should be adding a second field ref that would be field 1, referencing the document type.
I guess that's what Sandeep sir was saying, that he need to create it. He need to have new.
Well, I've got the two
functions.
integrations. Yeah, I've got the
You
two.
can also call the event on it. There's an event as well. Earlier it was not there.
What?
Now they have given us an event.
Yeah, he did call the event, Sandeep sir. It seems, the event subscriber for this, and one after init fields from ref.
Yeah, so I shared one link for this.
Okay, that sounds fair, man. That's that. Let's see what happens, and then.
And if I remember it correctly, this code has to be done at two places, not one.
Yeah, so because if you look at it now, the filters are correct. No, it's not still correct. Okay, I'll work on it. And Dashrath have shared something in the meeting. So you should look at it, and if it doesn't solve, just drop me an email. I'll surely look at it if you are not able to figure that out.
Yeah, Ivan Singleton, I just followed the same same customization. He just doesn't do it on a double primary key.
Not a problem.
Ivan, yeah, Ivan does it, but still it is a problem for some reason.
Okay.
Ivan does it on, what's that again? The location card. Yeah, the location card has just one. I've tried this. It works. No, with no
Not a problem.
problem. Yeah, it works.
Not a pro- yeah, so not a problem. I'll spend some time. We'll talk about it next meeting. And then
Terrific.
guys, just FYI, next may be the last for a while. I will be traveling for a while, so I'll be off. And then once I'm back, we'll surely meet again. Any other questions? Okay, Jignesh, you have your hand raised.
Yes, in last week we discussed about that schedule the report in the back end. So there is one slight change into that customer required that we do export to Excel functionality for inventory valuation report, and that took a lot of time without any filter. So is it possible if we can schedule that report also? I have tried, but it didn't get me the message after when I'm execute the PDF report layout or something. It gave me the message that report has been scheduled or something. But that batch job report that contain only export to Excel code, it is also allowed to schedule, but that didn't get me that message also and didn't get me that output into the reporting box. Is it
And
possible that?
we're talking about business center, right?
Yes, BC 19.
Yeah. So BC doesn't understand your local system, local file system. That we all know, right? It doesn't understand your network drive. It doesn't understand your system. So you can't have a bad job report which saves your file on a specific location, to be very fair. The only way around for that is that you develop a RDLC layout, okay, which looks exactly the way you want your Excel report. The thumb rule there is no report header and there is no report footer in your RDLC, and it just have the report body. In that you have headers and body or footer and group footer, whatever you need, and then you use save as Excel in the schedule option. Because when you do a save as Excel in a report, right, it just picks your report as it is, as you have created in RDLC, and saves that view into Excel. So let me show if I can show you that somewhere. Service is not that area for sure. So let's go back to customers. So if I schedule this report and say is account receivable, okay, may not run. I've already said that, but let's say this one. Now, if I do a print to Excel, which is a custom print to Excel, it'll never understand where I want it, right? But if I do it like this and say save that Excel document data and layout, oh, it might just run it, and let's see is there an output or not. So this output depends on how you build the layout, and let me show you what I'm talking about from a perspective of RDLC report designer. Okay, so what happens when you build a report? This is the section that looks like your page header in your RDLC when you build a page header, and this is also part of the header. This is the group header, and this is the body header, and then the body lines, and then this is part of the footer. This is the footer, and then this is the page footer, more or less. So if you can, whatever report you are building, if you can just limit to this area in your design, you will not see these small columns in Excel when you save it as Excel, like these one, because these are overlaps when you don't follow a design pattern more or less, and that normally happens because of header or the footer. Because in the body, in 90% of the case, you use a table, which makes it simple. So if I go back into my Business Central and pick customer item statistics, and I say, okay, I would like to send it to, and this is not the report, I guess. Let's go to the new version. That's the benefit over there. And say, what is that report? What is that? Customer item stats. Okay. Here. And I say, let's do it only for 1,000. Send it. Schedule it. Okay. And then here I choose Excel. Now, when I choose Excel here as a report output type, it will take the RDLC design that you have built and try to save it to Excel, and that's it. It is not generating your custom Excel code and all. You come back to your home page, go to your report inbox, and here it is, which is exactly same which I would have showed you a minute ago. Same report. So if you're design, which is a table X design more or less, rather than going into all the crazy part that you do in Excel. Oh, sorry, in RDLC. And if your design is limited to this, which is your RDLC body, you are good to follow what I just said. Schedule it and then change the output type as Excel, and you will get the Excel output as you want. A custom export to Excel will never work with Business Central, at least, because it doesn't understand your local file system, so it will never be able to convert that to a path where it needs to be saved. Does that make sense, Dinesh?
Okay. Yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, anyone?
I think that's it. But thank you very much for the session.
No problem, sir.
Yeah,
And we
thank
should
you.
look at new things they've added. They're super cool.
Okay, that sounds good. I'll surely look at it.
Right, thank you, Saurabh.
Thanks, man.
So,
Well,
thank you.
Sam, we'll see your issue next
Thank
week
you.
for sure. Yeah, thanks, guys.
Goodbye.
Bye.